Greetings and welcome to this week's edition of 401k Real Talk. This is Fred Barstein, contributing editor at wealthmanagement.com's RPA Edge and CEO at Trow, TPSU, and 401k TV. I review all of last week's industry stories and select the most important and interesting ones, providing open, honest, and candid discussion you won't get anywhere else. So let's get real. First story is according to a leading RIA M&A firm, Echelon. There were 87 deals in Q2, which is less than the 94 in Q1, but still the third largest quarter in recent history. And we're on track to beat 2021. Wealth tech deals were also robust. Though there are signs that PE money could be drying up, Echelon saw no indication of it yet. And though macroeconomic trends could hurt the RIA market, they have not yet, and even if they do, it should only be temporary, according to Echelon. For example, even as interest rates rise, debt financing is still available, and more buyers are expanding internationally. Creative Planning, which bought Lockton's retirement division, led all buyers with 12 deals so far this year, followed by Mercer Advisors. RPA firms are very different in many ways than RIAs, but particularly because it takes longer to build a retirement practice, resulting in fewer firms emerging as the larger ones are acquired. With new buyers like World Insurance and Alera entering an already crowded RPA buyer market, it could lead to fewer attractive options. Next story is Principal, one of the Fab 5 record keepers, poached a senior manager from Ascensus, Teresa Hacera, who had led Future Plan, Ascensus's TPA roll-up, departed after a brief stint to head up Principal's retirement group, reporting to newly appointed president Chris Littlefield. Both had worked at Fidelity. Hacera was previously head of MassMutual's retirement group and had been at TIA before that. Principal secured its position in the Fab 5 with the acquisition of Wells Fargo Retirement Division, passing the magic mark of 10 million participants. Ascensus' recent Newport acquisition put them at the 5 million DC participant mark. Future Plan, which had bought over 30 TPAs at a very rapid pace, has slowed down to a halt since the pandemic started. The Ascensus business model is very different than any of the other top providers, offering outsourced record-keeping services to others like Vanguard, as well as partnering with them on their TPA services. Yet without proprietary assets like Fidelity, or the ability to offer wealth management services to participants like Empower, it may be difficult for Ascensus to compete for top talent like Hacera. Third story is as a participant at Colgate-Palmolive's DC plan sued the plan sponsor, their record keeper, and custodian after a hacker drained the $750,000 account, alleging that all three had misread flags. The hacker changed contact information and personal identification and then immediately withdrew the funds. Protections meant to prevent this type of fraud failed. With more fraud like this inevitable, the real question is who's liable and will participants be made whole? This case opens up an entirely new type of lawsuit against DC plans and providers and raises the question of whether plans should retain participant assets of departed employees, as the plaintiff in this case had left employment 10 years before the incident. Fourth story, with lawsuits booming, 42 this year so far, on track for 100. The question of costs and terms of fiduciary insurance are being raised. According to Euclid Fiduciary, a provider of fiduciary insurance, costs are just 20 to 25% of director and officer insurance, which had been used to cover DC lawsuits. Big trends that Euclid identified were university lawsuits, especially after TIA was fined by the SEC and New York Attorney General alleging wrongdoing on rollover recommendations, as well as copycat lawsuits. Most cases focus on active target date funds and record keeper fees. Euclid claims that fiduciary insurance have not skyrocketed, as has been reported, but they do admit that the limits of liability have been lowered and reduced while the deductibles have been raised. With RPAs, the obvious next target for lawsuits as they get bigger through acquisitions and expand participant and ancillary services. The question is whether the potential risks are being priced into the deals. And then finally, reviewing DOL investigations against ERISA plans, law firm Morgan Lewis ranked the 9 most popular topics, including missing participants, data privacy and cybersecurity, timeliness of participant contributions, fiduciary breaches and prohibited transactions, required plan docs and disclosures like 408B2, bonding issues, policies and procedures like IPS or the lack thereof, participant claims and appeals processes, and ESG funds, while we still await final guidance post-Trump's pecuniary rule. The DOL under Obama and now Biden have been more proactive, evidenced by their cryptocurrency guidance and their IRA fiduciary rule, which is causing problems and confusion for plan sponsors and providers. So those are the 5 most important stories from the past week. I listed a few additional stories that I thought were worth reading. Please let me know if I missed anything or you have any comments. Otherwise, I look forward to speaking to you next week on 401k Real Talk, and look out for our new program, 401k Real Chat, which is a 12 to 15 minute interview with interesting, innovative, and impactful industry professionals.